Just give me Jesus. Just give me Jesus. Lord, here is my life. I lay it all down. I'd rather have Jesus. I'd rather have Jesus. 'Cause all of the treasures could never measure. Just give me Jesus. Just give me Jesus. Lord, here's my life. Lord, here is my life. I lay it all down.
They in there fighting. They ought to be in church.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, and welcome to another edition of Tuesday Transformation Tidbits with Patrice. On today, our whole goal is to transform your way of thinking, to empower you to overcome obstacles, and to ignite the passion, the power, and the potential that lies on the inside of you. In the month of October, we've been dealing with harvest for the last two. Well, actually, this is the second Tuesday that's in October, and we've been dealing with harvest in the fall. And we know that in the fall, it deals with transition, it deals with self-evaluation, and it deals with the harvest time, reaping in the harvest. So last week we talked about a time of transition. We talked about movement. We talked about passage. We talked about a change from one form to another form. We talked about both in the natural and the spiritual realm, about a change that happens. This week we're going to be talking about a time of self-evaluation. We're in the time of self-evaluation, a time to reflect, a time to understand, a time to look really to see how far have you come in 2024 and where are you going? Have you taken the time out to really evaluate what you decided to happen in the month of January? And now we're in the last quarter of 2024. How far have you come? What is it that God has given you for 2024? Have you achieved your weight loss? Have you achieved getting rid of some of those friends? Have you decluttered? And no, I have not decluttered totally. What have you decided for 2024? Have you attained what it is that you go after? So on today, we want to talk a little bit about living in the October life. life. And over the weekend, I had the sheer pleasure of just hanging out with family and friends of all types. And we talked about life. We talked about transition. We talked about times, a time to remind ourselves of the value of life. We were talking about change and self-evaluation and the internal journey that we on. And we were talking about it was being in the last quarter of the year. And I was expressing to them that I believe that this is a time that we need to look back and to see how far God has brought us. What things have we attained this far? So we were talking about the month of October, and I was telling them, I just really believe that I'm in a point in my life, a time of transition holistically. How many of you can identify with me? Are you at a time that you are at a pivotal point in your life where change is happening? Whether we want change to happen or not, it's something that's coming over us. We were talking about age, and I was saying to someone, I said, I don't believe how old I am. I said, and sometimes I have to walk by the mirror to look at myself because I just don't believe that I am even looking older now. But I was saying life brings about a change. And sometimes we don't want change to occur, but change does happen. So let's look at the month of October. It's a time of the year that transition is taken into it. We're transitioning into the cold months now. We're pulling off our summer clothes and we're moving from a relaxed state of life and we're moving from the outside and we're coming into the inside. We're coming into a more cozy, a hibernated mindset holistically. Hibernation is the name of the game that we're about to go into it. So when we go into hibernation, we come into a time that we begin to deal with our inner self. We begin to deal with ourself. We begin to take self-evaluations of ourself. I don't know about you, but when you get to your self-time, sometimes begin to look at exactly who you are. If you remember when we started out in August, we started out talking about who are you? This is a time that brings us back to take a retrospect of who we are, take an evaluation of things that might have occurred so far this year, and to ask ourselves, why did they occur? Is it something that was beneficial for our life? So as we begin to embark upon almost another year, because this is the pivotal point that's getting us to go into 2025, if the Lord delays His coming, there are some questions that I want you to ask yourself. Will you hold on to your life disappointments? Will you hold on to the grudges? Will you hold on to the heartache that kept you from living your best life in 2024? This is a time for us to really begin to think about what are some of the things that we're actually holding on? What are some of the things that are really prohibiting us from taking that next step and to boldly go where we have never gone before? What are some of the things that are holding us back? Will you choose to embrace the change that your life giving you the opportunity to grow? There are some changes that are happening, that has happened in our life in 2024. Are we embracing that opportunity of change? Did that change take us to a place that growth was produced? And will you glean from the lessons and the harvest of wisdom that you have gotten so far in 2024? Will you take that wisdom that you've gotten and begin to examine your life? Look at your life at this pivotal point of change, at this fall season of your life. When we look at the fall season of our life, is a strange mixtures of memories, is a strange mixtures of blessings, is a strange mixtures of potential that we have on the inside. It's time to reminisce. It's time for us to look at and to see how far we have gotten. I'm constantly saying that we're moving from transition into touchdown. We're about to touchdown for 2024. Where will you be at touchdown time? Are you at a point that you have decided that this is what I wanted from 2024? So we're in the fall season, a time of mixture. The fall season, it yields harvest, and a harvest seed was sown throughout the year. So it's time for us to reap the harvest that from the seeds that we have planted. What harvest are you reaping? What seeds have you sown so far in 2024? Are you ready to embrace the colder days that are about to come to you? Are you ready to embrace the change that is about to come to your life? When we look at the fall season and we know that fall season has already arrived, we look back and we begin to understand the ways that God has led us. What ways and what pathways have God led you through so far in 2024? Are you still at work trying to accomplish what it is that you set out to do? This is a good transition time. The month of October, the season of fall is the transition. What transition are you in? Are you trailblazing through the things that God called you to do? And the fall season it's a great season for us to really begin to focus. Why? Because we're getting ready to come into hibernation. So it's a time for us to begin to look at the wonderful blessings that God has bestowed about us. What are some of the blessings that we have? When we look at our family, when we look at our friends, when we look at the point that we have shelter, when we have strength, when we have guidance, when we have care, when we have our first fruit of our ministry that God has allowed us to have, we've got opportunity to serve. We've got more time because we're transitioning into a hibernation. So there's time now for us to pray. There's time now for us to fast. It's time now for us to seek God. Where are you this far in 2024? We're looking at a time of self-evaluation, embracing opportunities for growth. It's a time to embrace an opportunity for renewal, for gratitude, for looking at the fall season and looking at things that has happened and wondering where are we going to be at touchdown time. When we look at the fall season in the natural, fall season leaves, as I talked about last week, the leaves they're so pretty. They're orange, they're brown. They have this fall settled color about them. But when you look at the true color of leaves, what you see is the true, if I compare it to us, I see a true version of who we are. Are you the true version of who you are? Have you stopped and looked at yourself and decided for yourself, this is who I really am? So as we begin to see the color change that's in this month of fall, in this month of October, as we deal with the October life, let's deal with the true identity of who we are. When we begin to look at the true October life, it's a time, as I said, of reaping the harvest. Can you look at yourself and see the generous harvest that you have gotten so far? Can you see the fruit of your labor? Can you see what you have invested your time and your effort in so far in 2024? What is it producing for you? Have you produced what God has designed for your life? This is just a self-evaluation time this morning for us to take a look at where we are before we get to the end of the year. Have we built right relationships with God? As a matter of fact, have we built right relationships with our family? With our friends? Have we been proficient in our work skills? Do we do what it is that we're supposed to be doing? Have our dreams come true? This is a time that we're looking to reap the harvest, but what have you sown so far in 2024? Did we store up wisdom? And when I'm talking about storing up wisdom, we have had many life challenges and opportunities that have come our way in 2024. But what did we do with those challenges? What did we do with those opportunities that have come our way? Have we squandered the opportunities? Have we not taken advantage of the things that have come our way? It's a time for us to think, what things have you stored up so far for 2024? Have you met what you intended to do in 2024? In the wisdom that you store up, have you been able to pass that wisdom on to someone else? The things that you have learned, are you able or have you passed it on to someone else? Have we passed along what you know? And when we look at an October life, we're looking about the sharing of the abundance that we have. Because remember, this month is a month of harvest. Have we shared some of our knowledge with someone else? Have we shared the abundance of our harvest with the next person? What have we done so far in 2024? When we look at the month of October, October is a month that we dress in layers. So in the morning, it's a chilly, crispy morning. So what we do, we put on sweatshirts, we put on sweaters, we put everything over our t-shirts. Why? Because we're putting on layers. And by noonday, we're removing those sweatshirts. We're removing the sweaters that we have on. This shows this shows a point of us being able to adapt. Have we gotten to a place in life that we're able to adapt to various situations and complexities that come into our life? When we look at the October life, we're looking at the point of dressing in layers, but then taking the layers off shows adaptability. Have we been able to adapt to the things that God has given us so far in 2024? Or are we in constant search of looking for something else when God is saying what I've designed for you or what I've called you to do is right there, but you won't embrace it. You won't adapt it as being part of your life. Where are you in 2024? Have we looked at the point until we're resilient in the things that have happened to us? Were we able to jump back? And although the cares of life has pressed us down so far, although we have experienced so much, do we have that resilience that though things have come my way, yet will I still trust? Yet will I still hold on? Yet will I continue to press on to see what the end is going to be? Well, today I come to encourage you to look at yourself. Where do you stand in 2024? In this month of harvest, in this month of change, as things begin to change all around us, as we come from the outside and come into the inside, are we taking an introspect into us? Have we looked at what it is that, and where do we stand so far in 2024? Have we gone back, as I said last week, and checked the checklist to see what things that we said that we were going to do in 24? Did we accomplish them? I know when I look at myself and I look at my checklist, there were a couple of things that I'm still working on. That weight thing is really a thing for me. I fluctuated back and forth, but I haven't been able to get to a level that I'm comfortable with. But I've learned how to adapt to what I have. When I look at the point of I wanted to declutter, I did a half job, but not a complete job. But yet and still, I'm looking to say that I still got time before December hit here, before the touchdown time, to still accomplish some of the things that I set out to do. As I begin to look at a self-evaluation of myself, some things that God has called me to do in 2024, have I accomplished those things? There's some things that I can check off, and then there's other things that I'm saying, God, well, did you really say that, or did I think you said that? Look at it. It's a time of self-evaluation. Are you in denial of what God has called you to do? Because there's some things that last week when I was doing a self-evaluation of myself, I've come to the realization that I'm just denying some things because I don't want to walk into some things. But as I come to the last quarter of the year, as I'm looking back and taking a retrospect, as I'm doing a self-evaluation, I'm saying, God, it's my time to walk into what you have called me to walk into. I've got to get on board and can do what God has called me to do because I'm coming down to touchdown. Will I be able to touch down in December 31st, 2024 to say I fulfilled what God has called me to do? When we look at the October life, when we look at the fall season, fall is a season of harvest. When everything comes into fruition, you're at a time in your life that things are starting to come into fruition. Things, the seeds that you have sown, you're reaping blessings from them. It's a time to enjoy the fruit of your labor. We're at that point. We're at that season. It's time to reflect on things that you have accomplished. What have you accomplished this far? It's a time to celebrate your victories, to prepare for the future. Hibernation time is a time that you come in to begin to prepare your life for the winter month that's about to come for you. Will you be able to sustain in the winter month? It's a time where we gain valuable insight during this fall season that can help us make decisions to guide us into our future. When we look at fall, we're expecting the reaping, the reward of things that we've done, the hard work, the time that we spend on various things. It's time for us to reap the harvest. But what harvest are you reaping? This morning, I just come just to give you something to think about, to tell you it's time for us to take a self-evaluation. Fall is that transition time. What are you doing in your transition time? Have you met the expectations that you started out with in 2024? When we start out in January, we're excited about the things that we want to do. No one can turn us away from the decisions and the things that we said that we're going to accomplish. We're gung-ho about doing the things. But now we're coming to the latter part of the year. And it's time for us to evaluate, what have we done? Where do we stand? The time is now in transition. Before we get to the end of the year, take a look at, self-evaluate yourself. See if you're running in the right direction, if you're on the right pathway. Are you doing what God said for you to do? Have you embraced the things that have happened to you in 2024? Are you adaptable to the new height, to the new levels that you're going through? Do you see change in your life? Have you transitioned? Or are you at the same point you were when you entered 2024? I just come to tell you to embrace the change pathway, the paths that you're going, because it's a way of personal growth. It's a way of resilience for you. It's an overall well-being. Change is not a commodity that we embrace, but we need to embrace change on today. On today, my Tuesday transformation tidbit for you is, now is the moment to assess how far you have come and where you are going. On today, take some time out. Do a self-evaluation of where you are in this last quarter. We're about to come to the end of the year. Where are you? Look at where you've come and how far you have come. Have you ascertained the things that you wanted to do? Where are you going? Are you going in the right direction? Will you achieve and will you fulfill the call of God on your life for 2024? It's self-evaluation time in this last quarter of transition. On today, take this moment. Assess how far you come. Do a self-evaluation of yourself. Pull out that checklist and begin to check off things that you have accomplished, things that God has called you to do. Did I do it? Because if you didn't, you still have time. We're in transition to touchdown. And my Tuesday transformation tidbit for you today is, take this moment and do the self-evaluation. Be amazing on today. Shalom.